So thank you for joining us today, Mr. Littlejohn. I am Debbie Rubenstein, and we're talking today on the 15th of March. And in Mecklenburg County this week, there were an average of 72 COVID cases reported, which is a 47% decrease over the prior 2 weeks. Because of these numbers, each subject we are comfortable talking without a mask. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you look like?
Okay, I am George Littlejohn. I am a 58-year-old black male, 5'8", about 230 pounds. I am today well-dressed,
Indeed.
wearing shades. I have a complexion that's not dark or light, but it is somewhere in the middle. And I am glad to be here today because I'm ready to share some information.
Well, we are really glad that you are here. Can you tell me a little bit about where home is for you right now?
Now I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I live on the west side of Charlotte. It is, how do I want to put this? Somewhere near Freedom Drive. I was born in Gastonia, so I'm not far from home, and I make it over there once or twice a week to visit.
Oh, that's nice. So you still have family?
I have family. I have 2 sisters and a mother there. Yeah.
And we're talking a little bit about your pandemic experience. Can you share with me where you were? Do you remember where you were when the pandemic began?
When the pandemic began, I was actually watching NBC Nightly News, and I heard the story about COVID-19 or coronavirus, a case in Washington State, I think it was. And I said, well, it won't be much of anything, so it doesn't apply to me. That's over 3,000 miles away. But they spent more time on it than I thought it deserved. So in the back of my mind, I thought, well, they must think this is going to be something. And it said it probably came from another country, and I thought, well, this might be something. Well, then 2 weeks later, it was here, in this building. And I realized, oh, we got something major going on here. And I began to take it far more seriously.
Did Lions shut down?
Lions shut down for 2 weeks. And I'm going to say it was late March, early April of 2020. And they did an excellent job of cleaning the building, et cetera, because we did have cases.
So then when they reopened, how did you feel about coming back in?
Oh, I was a little skeptical. We followed every protocol, of course. In fact, when we came back, they initially were taking temperatures and we wore masks, et cetera. After about a month, though, they stopped with the temperature check because people were coming in with no temperature, but yet they had COVID. So that was really kind of defeating the purpose. But I will say that if someone felt sick, or they sent them home immediately. So they were vigilant about that, and still are. We used to all eat lunch at noon. But as you will soon see, we have 2 lunches now. We've not gone back. I work in the front, so our lunch is at 11.
I'm sorry.
And I'll still get it.
Okay,
and in the back, they have lunch at noon. So that was one of the big things. They also, in the break rooms, we had 2 at that time. We have 1 now. We only sat to a table, so that we were catty corner, and that helped a great deal. And we've gone back now to being across from each other, but being aware of each other's space. But yeah, I think we all were more aware. Wash our hands, and all the protocol that were put in place. The truth is, it's something we should have been following all the time.
There was so much disruption in the city. Did that create any barriers for you to get into work?
Well, I was going to mention that, but I didn't know if you wanted me to. Now, we get to work most days via special transportation service through CATS and all that kind of deal. It was actually great because we used to ride 6, 7, 8 to a vehicle. And I think at that time, I want to say they took 2, 3 maybe. So it was great because we got home faster. We had more room. And I felt safer. We all felt safer. And they were always here on time. So I missed that.
Yeah. That's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you remember in the lockdown, when it began, do you remember anything that you did in your personal space that was different?
Heck yeah. Bought lots of tissue and Lysol and things. I mean, we always bought it, but not to the degree that we did, and ordered masks and all those things. But no, beyond that, I always a clean person, but cleaned far more frequently than normal and that kind of thing. We never went to visit anyone. No one came to visit us. Kind of secluded ourselves, really.
It was just you and your wife?
Yeah. I mean, of course, there was no church, and we're churchgoers, and there was no church, so everything was done via phone. We didn't do anything that required us to be around other people for a year plus. A little more relaxed now, but even still, I wear my mask everywhere I go. I mean, I just do.
Yeah.
Because while I'm concerned about others, I'm not sure others are concerned about me. I think people, and you could see it during the pandemic that some people took it seriously and some people didn't.
Right.
And so that's, I think, kind of selfish, but I can't tell anyone else how they should live their life. But yeah, those are just some of the changes that we made that made a difference, by the way.
Why do you say that?
Well, once I had COVID and recovered, I only missed the vaccination by about a month, So once I got those vaccinations, which I've had all of them, I felt safer. I felt a little more secure, I should say, because I'm one to research, and I had researched everything about the vaccination before I took it. So when I went in to talk to the nurse who gave me the shot, she was like, well, you already know about it. I'm like, well, most people, I mean, I wouldn't put anything in my body without knowing what it is. I mean, what person would do that? I mean, just because someone says you need to know what it is. So I did that, and I just felt better after I came through, because once I came through, I knew I had defeated it. And that unknown part beforehand, I always wonder, now if I get it, am I going to be a casualty? Am I going to have to go to the hospital? Am I going to have to do this? I mean, anytime you tell me something's going on, I always envision the worst possible thing. And it was pretty bad, but it wasn't the worst. I probably should have gone to the hospital, but I didn't.
Oh, you didn't go to the hospital at all?
I didn't go, but I didn't eat for 8 days. I really didn't. I couldn't taste food, and my wife would say, well, dinner's on the table, and I'd go and have to stir it around a little bit and relocate the food. And, honey, I'm finished. And she, honey, you didn't eat anything. Okay, I'm finished. So.
because you're a researcher, did any of your colleagues here turn to you for information?
They didn't turn to me for information, but what I learned, I shared.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think what good is knowledge if you keep it to yourself?
Mm-hmm.
So I shared with them what I found out, many of them.
Was that at all difficult? I mean, did that create any tensions?
Well, no, because I think you always have the opportunity, you have the option of listening or not to listen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can walk away and leave me talking to myself. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So, no, I don't think it did because in the beginning, no one knew what we were working with.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that someone went around to try to find out what we were working with, I think people appreciated that. By and large, I'm sure some people were like, I wish he'd shut up. but once they got sick, then they wanted to do more. Well, how about this? What happens if this happens? So it's one of those things that it doesn't register until it registers, mm-hmm. until you actually encounter. And many of us around here did encounter.
So you said you didn't go out very much, and so this may not apply, but I was curious because as a very independent blind person, you, when you're out in public, you are aware of the environment in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go out, and when you went out, did you notice, were there things you noticed, changes in the environment that you were in?
The biggest change I noticed, and this is not rocket science, but the biggest thing I noticed was it was much easier for me to find the things I was looking for because everything was so desolate.
Oh, that's interesting.
No one was there. Uh-huh. So I was always able to get in or go do what I wanted to do or needed to do without impairment, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there weren't very many people there.
Are you thinking about things like the
grocery store, a shopping store, whatever, a hardware store? Yeah, there were very, very few people there. Or it would get to the place where I would call and say, look, I'm coming to get this. Please have it at the at the customer service table, and I will just pick it up there. You know, I found ways around being around people because I knew that people, you know, like me, they were cautious about people grabbing their arm, and I was cautious about grabbing their arm. So it seemed to me like I was trying to help them out. If they would help me out, I helped them out. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I would do. I would call ahead, or I would go alone and go into the store and say, look, I'm looking for this. You bring it to me. I'll tell you if this is what I'm looking for. Or I asked my wife to go. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I had to find workarounds. Or the fourth option, of course, is go to Amazon.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah. You're not the only one who
yeah.
gave Amazon a lifeline.
Right.
Yeah. It was very helpful. And you talked about I'd love to hear more about, you said you played the cello for a long time?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about how you connected with that during the pandemic.
Okay, so I love classical music. And, let's go back. At the blind school, we had an orchestra, and I wasn't very good at the violin at all. It's too small or something.
Yeah.
I wasn't very good. And I had a teacher, his name was Michael Pope, and he was a very good cellist. He said, why don't you try this cello? He said, you might like this. And I picked it up, and I fell in love with it. And we would sit there and play together after I got up to speed. A couple of years, he taught me for years. And that was sort of our common ground. We'd play music together. And during the pandemic, when I'd hear, say, Yo-Yo Ma, somebody play the cello, I'd harken back to those days when Mr. Pope and I used to sit around and play, and how much fun we had, and shared stories of him being over in Uganda, and all those things. And I don't know, it just sort of made me smile and forget about the troubles of today and all the people that were being lost and people that were being sick, and all the workers who were being overworked. It just was a release. It was kind of a back to the past, a release from reality, and it just gave me a certain peace that I couldn't find anywhere else.
my daughter learned violin for a little bit, and then she decided piano was her instrument. But
Lovely.
her violin teacher was a wonderful person, and I remember her description that when she picked up the violin, she was little. She said she knew immediately that that was her instrument. That was her.
Oh, yeah.
That she belonged with it.
When you hear those sounds and you think, oh, that's beautiful, I want to play this. And then after a year or so, you realize, I can play this.
Uh-huh.
And then you become, it becomes a part of you. It really does.
Before that, had you let it sit to the side before the pandemic and then picked it back up, or has it been a constant?
It's always been there, but during the pandemic, it just sort of, it became more prevalent, more important. Yeah.
Do you prefer playing on your own?
I just love sitting around playing on my own, and
Yeah.
I don't need to go out and do all that stuff. I just like to know I can play it when I want to.
Yeah. And I had a thought and it's disappeared. Oh, I wanted to ask you about, for many people, the pandemic, the uncertainty of the pandemic was a part of what was difficult about 2020 and 2021. But some of the political happenings were also added to that uncertainty, that unhappiness, and the pressure to decide whether to be with other people or not be with other people. Did any of that enter for you?
Well, I'll say it this way. You can't be concerned with what other people say. You have to make your own decisions. So I heard what people said. I heard the different sides of this, but I made my choice based on how I felt, not based on what someone else said, or because I might say, well, that's idiotic. Why would you say that, or why would you do that? Versus, I'm going to take the safe way out. I'm going to be cautious. You have to make your own decisions no matter what. You can't be swayed by what other people say. I mean, now you want to know that what you're doing is, quote unquote, the right thing. But some things you hear, they're outlandish. I mean, just your common sense. So you have to make your own choices based on the data you gather. Now, did I hear what the noise and the politics? Of course I did. But ultimately, I made the best decision for me, not somebody else telling me this is what I need to do or what I should do. Because I think I got good enough sense to know what's good enough for me. Now, it was good to hear, and I don't want to use a name, but it was good to hear the doctors get on TV and talk about, and I think that's what I did more than anything, more than the politicians. It was what the doctors said, because they study this, and they don't have a side. It's not, well, you're this and you're that. It's what the science says, and if I am to believe in science, and by and large I do, I've got to listen to what they've discovered, what they've seen over the years, not what somebody says, do this or do that. So, yeah, I heard what they said, but I didn't go by what they said. I was more interested in what the doctors and the CDC said, because, well, I've had some dealings with the CDC, but I have a friend that works for the CDC, not in that capacity, but in a smaller capacity, and I've always been told that, before they make any kind of decision, they have to, investigate it and look at the data before they say anything. So those are the people that made a difference to me, not so much the politicians.
Do you think that your experiences through the pandemic have had any long-lasting changes in you, in your outlook, in your body, in your way of being in the world?
Well, I'll tell you this. Since the pandemic, just on a physical nature, my allergies are really, and sinuses are really crazy now.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, really, sometimes I'm like a faucet. I mean, I think the old Cajun cooker Justin Wilson used to say, "I have an athletic nose now," you know. But yeah, beyond that, I am more in tune with my body and what feels right and what doesn't feel right. My mind, I went to a therapist a couple years ago. I'm probably going to go again just to make sure that I'm on the right path. Um, it's important that you take care of your physical and your mental. And I really was off there for a while. Things that I used to enjoy doing, I didn't do, and I don't visit people as much as I used to now. I'll use a text or I'll call them and talk to them, but I don't visit like I used to. So I guess I'm a little more cautious now. I'm a little more aware of me, and I don't do as much as I used to do. I like to get out and go do things. That's what I'd like to do, but I don't do much of that anymore. And it's like travel. I haven't been on. Oh, I did fly last year. I flew to Minnesota, but I used to fly 4 or 5 times a year, but only to Minnesota last year, and probably only to. Oh, I have to go to Maryland this year.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, but then the next week I have to go to Minnesota, and that's going to be a little concerning because those spaces are really tight, as you know, and I guess I got a case of the phobias a little bit. I'm a little claustrophobic like that a little bit now, I think. But I'm going to do it because there's a group of us. We throw darts, audio darts for the visually impaired, and the main tournament is in Minnesota in October. Thank God it's not in February like it used to be.
Who puts a tournament in Minnesota in February?
I don't know, but that -15 that one weekend was enough to, I think, make them rethink because we said we weren't coming back, and then all of a sudden it was in October, which is much better, quite nice really last year. So yeah, I mean, I don't do as much as I will travel on the train because a lot of times I can get my own seat. But that hasn't happened the last couple of times. People are traveling the rails, I guess.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I honestly could sit here and talk to you for another hour.
Well, talk.
Well.
Oh no, they probably wouldn't want that.
I don't want to. I want to be invited back.
I like it.
But I wanted to ask. I don't want to close without inviting you. Is there anything you really want to be sure you say, you want to share from your experience?
Well, I guess the most important thing, for me is to thank you for coming out here and visiting with us and being interested in how COVID has adjusted us. That word, adjusted. I'm not going to say change. It adjusted us, how it made us realize that we don't have any control over anything. I mean, so I'm a believer, so I believe it's God's will. That's what I believe. I can't tell anyone else what else to believe, but I can tell you that I can say that having come through this, I'm stronger, I'm wiser, and I say to others, just remember, there's more than you in this world. And I think it was Lady Gaga who said it. I love Lady Gaga, I just do. She said it the other night. We all need each other. And that's what I'd like to close with. We all need each other. Don't be selfish. We all need each other.